Quitting my dream job was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. So today, I'm going to tell you why I quit my dream job. But first, let's blow up a unicorn. What?
Woo! Unicorn's going to Shapiro's office. I can use you to blow it up in there. No way. Hey, you know what? Yeah.
Shapiro's just going to be sitting there.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Can we get to the door?
Find out.
He locked it, didn't he?
No. It has been done.
A little bit of this will be a little redundant if you watch the Get to Know Us video, but I'm going to get in more detail and have you really know my journey. So sit back. Let's get into this video. My dream job has always been to be in the music industry, to work in live sound, to basically be the engine that runs the music industry. That's always been my dream job. This dream kind of came about back in around 2011, 2012 when I started my rap alias, Young Biz. Ever since then, it's been a crazy journey. I've worked at bars, I've worked at local venues, running sound and being a stagehand, strictly working with audio. It wasn't until the end of my sophomore year that I was given the notice that I failed out. That was really the moment that I decided to take my love for music to the next level, to try to make it a career. That moment that I realized I failed out of college, I had a whole new opportunity ahead of me. I decided to pack all my bags, move to California because, you know, California is where the music industry is, right? That was a fun time. To say the least, really. I mean, I hunkered down. I was learning my craft. So when I moved home from California in 2014, back to Michigan, I worked bars, local venues, not exactly having consistent work, but having my toes in the industry a little bit. The year goes by, Allison and I meet, and we start focusing on our relationship. We move in together with a few of our friends. Everything seems like it's going pretty well. I'm doing local shows as my artist Young Biz. Everything seems to be kind of growing at a steady pace, but for me, it just wasn't enough. In summer 2015, Al and I, we packed our bags and we moved down to Florida for music school. And from there, I learned so much for the next 3 years in studio work, live sound, learning how to make beats, learning how to record. It was really a blast of a time. So it's spring 2018. I'm about to graduate from Full Sail University. I'm Googling through where we want to move, and we decide on Denver. Denver has been the place that I've always dreamed of living, kind of my whole life, really. So living there, bucket list, definitely a bucket list item. So I go on Google, I type in best production companies to work for in Denver. Brown Note Productions pops up. Sounds good. Has an awesome name. I go on the website, I look into more about the company. I sent in my email and they're talking to me right away. Before you know it, I started my first day as an unpaid intern. I was so excited. Seriously, so excited. I got into the industry to work as an audio professional, but on the first day, they kind of sent the first people off to do a little bit of everything. Brown Up Productions, they have video, they have lighting, they have audio, they have just warehouse technicians. I did a little bit of lighting on my first day. I got to program lights, put the labels on each of the lights for Zomboy and Global Dance Music Festival. At the time, I was crazy about Zomboy. And if you don't know who Zomboy is, he's a big dubstep artist. At the time, I was just listening to dubstep nonstop, and I still am. I make it, whatever. I came home and I immediately told Allison, I'm like, you have no idea what I just did on my first day of work. I got to work for Zomboy. Just that little thing just made me so excited for what was to come. Literally, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was about to get myself into. Seriously. Like, Brown Note Productions. Wow. You guys, you really know how to put on a show. Seriously. The best shows that I have ever seen have been from Brown Note Productions. 100%. I'll give you a little bit of a step-by-step with how I moved up within the company. So like I said, I started off as an unpaid intern. I knew I was going to do some unpaid work right off the bat, right after I graduated. I wanted to let the industry know that I was thirsty and I was willing to do the work regardless of the money. I think that they definitely saw that because for what was promised 3 months of unpaid work was only 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, I was starting to get paid, and I was considered a paid intern. At that point, my status of a paid intern actually stayed for quite a long time, but the actual work, it just got more and more and more, and I got to learn more and more and more from some of the best technicians, best people in the industry. My first actual position was the cable guy. I had the job of packing all the cable packages. I would receive a list of what needs to go on a gig, and I would pack a case, scan all the items, and in the software, it would knock off all the items, showing that they're now on the gig. And then after that, I moved on to the speaker department. And that was when the fun started. Like, working speakers for a production company like that is crazy. Those speakers get put out on huge gigs, touring the world. They're bound to come back with some crazy dents, broken speakers, blown diaphragms. Like, it was crazy to see the speakers once you unscrewed them. So after working in the speaker department, I got moved over to the electronics department, and that's where I stayed for the remainder of my time there at Brown Note. That's when things started to really kick off for me. So throughout the spring and summer of 2019, I did so many shows I forgot to count. Some of the really fun gigs that I got to do were definitely the shows at Red Rocks. Those were always super fun.
When the catering is in the rocks.
But I also did some different ones, like graduations, Colorado School of Mines, the University of Wyoming graduation. But by far, my favorite gigs that I got to do were my recording gigs. I got to use the same Pro Tools recording rig that String Cheese Incident uses. People definitely get confused when it comes to working for an artist. Like, what does that really mean? The truth is, you can work for an artist with the artist not even knowing you. A lot of the times, I would deal with their production crew, whether it was their stage manager or even other members of the band. I got to work with Machine Gun Kelly. I did the setup and production for their rehearsal and also recorded their show at Red Rocks. The Red Rocks show with Machine Gun Kelly also had Juice WRLD that was opening for him. This is before I even knew who Juice WRLD was, but to be able to see Juice WRLD from front of house at Red Rocks before his passing is just an honor. Like, after that night, I became a huge fan of him. Also MGK. I wasn't a huge fan of MGK until that night, and I started to listen to him after that, and I've been a huge fan ever since. Another artist that I got to work for was Nathaniel Rateliff. Nathaniel Rateliff has very close ties with Brown Note Productions. So I was just bound to be doing some work for him. I recorded him 2 nights at the Ogden back in 2018. 2 artists that I actually became basically their personal audio tour package builder was both the String Cheese Incident and STS9. So those are 2 artists that I actually look up to, and I've loved their music. I've had crazy experiences at both of their shows to the point where I was just in complete awe. I was lucky enough to actually pull Ryan, the owner of Brown Note Productions, aside and tell him how it's crazy how when I saw STS9 at Electric Forest in 2012, 2013, it completely blew my mind. And at that moment at Electric Forest, I knew I wanted to be in the music industry. That was the moment, right then and there, was STS9. And before you know it, I was STS9's tour builder. And that full circle moment was just so crazy for me. Like, seriously, like I held on to it for so long, seriously. It was amazing. And I seriously thank you, Brown Note, for giving me that opportunity. It was awesome. But let's get to what you guys have been waiting for. Why did I quit my dream job? And it's really not a simple answer. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be giving you just like one, this is why. The beginning of 2020, I was really starting to doubt where I was heading with myself, and not exactly with the company, because I know that Brown Note would have put me on tour. My old supervisor actually came up to me and told me he really wanted to put me on the Tycho tour. And in retrospect, I'm like, dang, that'd be so cool to go on tour with Tycho. But, you know, that was something that I didn't want. I actually was verbal about that I didn't want to go on tour because I do have a significant other, and I didn't want to be away from her and away from Otto. You know, Al and I, we've been talking about starting a family, and I actually am a homebody too, so I personally just don't want to be away. And that was something that kind of struggled with me in the industry, because Brown Note Production is the music industry. I'm telling you, they're taking over. They are taking over. Watch out, Clear Bros. Watch out. They are coming for you. You know, I was doing all these awesome things and really, I came to the point where I realized I was checking off a lot of my bucket list. One thing that I should mention is right before I started my time at Brown Note, Al and I took some time road tripping to California, actually went to my brother's wedding, and Al and I and her brother went to Lightning in a Bottle. That was kind of like the last music festival that I attend before I start working music festivals. We took a day that we didn't see any music. We ended up doing one really nice yoga session, nice meditation. During that yoga session, they told you to close your eyes and picture yourself where you really want to be, like your goals, like your true goals. The person that was doing the yoga session really put you in a perspective of you're not here to have fun anymore. You're here to really like expand your mindset, grow yourself, and leave Lightning in a Bottle a sense of wanting more. When they asked me, where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself? I put myself front of house at Red Rocks. That's where I wanted to be. That was my dream job. That was my dream destination. You know, to me, that was a destination. Little did I know, within 4 months, I'd be working there as a professional. Front of house at Red Rocks, recording Machine Gun Kelly. You know, it blew my mind. And, you know, after that, I got to do a lot of Red Rocks gigs. I did Donna Summer. I did Tenacious D. But I just needed a break. I needed to stop. You know, I wasn't motivated to do my own art. I hadn't made an actual good song the whole 2 years that I worked at Brown Note just because I was so busy working at Brown Note. And I loved it. It was amazing work. And like I said, I checked off so many things on my bucket list to the point that when they told me that STS9 was going back on tour and they looked at me and said, "Hey Ben, STS9 is going back on tour. Go pack it up." I had zero excitement. That excitement that I used to have was gone. And I was just thinking about the responsibility, what goes wrong, because in the music industry, things go wrong. Like, that's just the way it is. It's how you can recover from when it goes wrong. That's what differentiates you from a professional to an amateur. That was my first job. I learned so much. I loved it. I don't know how many times I've said that in this video, but it was an amazing time. There was other things that were going on in my life that kind of making my mind go crazy, and I couldn't really keep my mind focused at work. So that kind of added to it. But in the end, Al and I made the decision that we were going to leave Colorado and move to Michigan, move back to our hometown of Holland, Michigan. Frankly, it's been the best decision that we have ever made. It was the hardest time of my life. I tell you, I've never been that low. I've never walked into an HR and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I quit." Like, it blew my mind. One thing that Al has always told me, and it has stuck with me, is that everything is temporary. Even the things that are so permanent in your life, like your career, is still only temporary. And, you know, it's so crazy because 2 weeks after I quit my job, coronavirus hit. And what industry did it hit the hardest? The music industry, the entertainment industry. Wiped out. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I've never felt that level of anxiety ever. All in all, after quitting my dream job, I think it was worth it. I'm in a much better place mentally. Al and I are married, and we got to spend a lot more time planning our wedding, which happened to be in Michigan. We bought a house together. It would be cool if the house was in Colorado, but the housing market is just crazy there, which actually was another factor of us moving back. So many things made sense for us to make the move, and in order for that to happen, we had to make moves quick. I'm so happy that I did. So happy that Al and I are here in this new house with Otto. He's a sleeping mew. Oh my gosh. I'm so blessed to have a place to call home and also starting this new community with you. So please, if you're new, subscribe to our channel, join the journey, and like this video. It really, really goes a long way. It helps us see new people and it helps us grow, and that's what our goal is. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Peace.